Here's an amplifier I've wanted to showcase for a very long time that has one of the nicest clean channels you're ever going to hear. This is the Mesa Boogie California Tweed. Let's get into it. Let's take a look at this amplifier up close. Firstly, I love the look of this. The Tolex looks awesome. We get the old school Tweed right here. It looks very nice. This is a single channel amplifier that also allows you to scale the power output, and we'll talk about that in a moment. So we get our normal and low inputs over here. We get one gain control and a master volume control. So by using these two in different configurations, you can set how much drive you want on the amp, or you can back the gain down and have it set up really clean by adjusting the master, and I'll showcase some of that throughout this video. We get a dedicated 3-band EQ and a dedicated presence control as well, which is awesome. Over here we get a multi-watt switch or a power attenuation switch, so you can switch it from 20 watts at full volume down to 10 watts or 1 watt if you want to practice at home, say in a bedroom and you don't want to annoy anybody. I love this feature. It's definitely one of the most functional things I've seen on any amp. On the back of the amp we get our effects loop, which is great if you want to use delays or additional reverbs, for example. We also get our foot switch on and off option as well for the reverb. So you can have the reverb set and then you can use the foot switch to turn it on or off. Now this reverb gets wet really quickly, so yeah, you don't need much of it, and I won't have it past here in any clip throughout this video. So yeah, it's a very prominent reverb. This amp's fully loaded with 5 12AX7 tubes, 1 12AT7 and 2 6V6 output tubes. So very reminiscent there of the configuration you might find in something like a deluxe reverb when it comes to its power output tubes. Now the cool thing about this amplifier, we get a 12-inch speaker. The cabinet's not very large either, and it's also quite light when you consider that this is a full-blown valve or tube amplifier. I dig it. It's nice and portable, small, and easy to get into the car. The speaker in this amplifier is a Jensen Blackbird 40, which is a speaker that I don't think I've used up until this point. Jensen speakers are generally made in Italy. I'd assume that's the case for this one as well, which is great. And you can of course run this out to an external speaker box. We have a 4 ohm output over here, or 2 4 ohms, and this one looks to be 8 if I had to guess, and it is. So it's an 8 ohm output for the speaker that's built into the amp. This amplifier comes in 2 configurations. I have the 12-inch speaker version right here, but there's also a 10-inch speaker version which I have in the other room. So that'll be coming up on a future video, so stay tuned for that. A massive thanks to Sky Music for the loan of this. Again, this video is not sponsored in any way. If you do enjoy it, please leave a thumbs up. This goes back to the shop. No money's changed hands or anything like that. If you want to support the channel, I'll leave some affiliate links down in the description box below. Here we go. All right, let's kick it off with some clean tones, and I'll cycle through a few different guitars on the 20-watt mode on the power attenuation over here. So this is set up beautifully with a little bit of reverb. The reverb controls on the back of the amplifier. And this is how it sounds on neck pickup. Here we go. Yeah, it's got that tight low end. It doesn't get flubby or weird, which is great. Let's go over to bridge and middle pickups for that sort of Knopfler-esque style sound. So that's nice and steely. It's almost that Robert Cray style sound, actually. So yeah, nice and bright with single coil pickups. Over to my Telecaster now. I'm going to attempt some country licks with just a hair more dirt over here. So the gain is now up at about 2 o'clock, which is still mostly clean. Have a listen to this. I love this tone. So only when I dig in, I get that little bit of dirt. This is also great if you want to play blues. And if you turn down, it's going to clean up beautifully. This amp feels so nice to play, it's awesome. Over to my Tokai Love Rock electric guitar loaded with 2 humbucker pickups. I want to showcase just how beautiful this sounds with some conventional humbuckers. I've turned the reverb on the back of the amplifier up, I've readjusted the EQ and turned the gain control down. Here we go, this is neck pickup. I mean, have a listen to that, right? That's so clean, it sounds great. Let's try some higher gain tones now, starting with the gain control at 3 o'clock. But I'm going to start with my volume control down so you get a good sense of how dynamic this is. Here we go. I mean, have a listen to that, right? So if you like that sort of southern rock, classic rock style sound where all you're doing is using your volume control to go from clean to a nice sort of not too saturated sound, this really works great. And that's all done with my volume control. That sounds really great. It's a very versatile amplifier. Up next, I'm going to show you the power attenuation and also comment on how loud it is in the room. I've got my sound pressure level meter on the floor right here. I should get a wall one at some point, but I don't have it yet. So this is how it sounds on 20 watt mode with the master at about 1 and the gain most of the way up. Here we go. So it's coming in at 108 dB, so it's quite loud. And now we're over to the 10 watt mode. It feels like a 10 watt amp. Everything just came down, and that was at about 102 dB, somewhere around there. Yeah, peak slightly higher than that, but the average would be around 102. And now we're over to the 1 watt setting. I won't boost this in post. Here we go. Average is about 94 dB, so it's way quieter. This is, you know, a great bedroom practice amp at this particular point. Now what I'll do, I'll bring it up in post so you can see how well it records if you plan on doing any type of, you know, studio stuff. Still feels great to play, and I haven't lost my top end. I've lost a lot of volume, but the feel of the amp is still there, which is pretty cool. And lastly, let's try an overdrive pedal hitting the front end. One of the great things about this amp, the gain control is so subtle that you can get it to that really great sweet spot for something like a clon. And I've got the Warm Audio Centavo overdrive about to hit the front end. So this is my starting tone. That's the sound of a clon going into a really great amplifier. Far out, man. Let's wrap this video up. I'm going to talk about a few of the things I love about this amp to begin with, and then also some things you need to think about. So first up, the clean tone is awesome. I first played one of these amps a long time ago in a store just briefly, and the clean tone stuck in my mind as one of the nicest that I'd played up until that point. I still feel like that. I think the clean tone out of this is beautiful. In the room, it feels great, and I love the fact that we get that gain control, so we can get either a clean, an off clean, or a somewhat driven tone without it getting too carried away. When I compare this amplifier up against something like the Mesa Boogie Studio 22, which is a killer amplifier, that combo is so good. A good friend of mine lent me one a while back so I could make a video of it. That has that unbelievably great drive channel, but the clean channel, what clean channel? It has one, but it doesn't really exist. This clean channel is right up there with the likes of Fender and many other great clean channels that you've no doubt plugged into over the years. So you're getting that kind of sound, thus the name and the aesthetic of this amplifier is very different to the amps aimed at people who really want to rock. So for guys like me who play blues, this is a really functional amplifier. Now, having the reverb on the back of the amplifier is an interesting touch. I think the reverb sounds great, but it can get easily too carried away. If you have it up too far, or even up at about 10 o'clock, it's going to be way too much, unlike other amps. So just back it down. I noticed as I was turning the amplifier volume up and down, just as I was using the amp, the reverb became a lot more prominent. So just keep that in mind. I have to mention the power attenuation on the front. This is one of the best designs of all time. It allows you to go from 20 watts at gig volume down to 10 watts for rehearsals or recordings, whatever, and down to 1 watt for practice in a bedroom or an apartment, whatever the case is, right? So this amplifier will pretty much do it all. At 1 watt, it's like voice level. It's not very loud whatsoever, so you can get away with practicing like that, but it still sounds and feels good. This is a great addition to an amplifier. It's one of the things I remember most about testing it out back in the day. Now, the physical size of this amplifier is pretty small, and it's not as loud as other amplifiers in their range. So if you're looking for something when you've got a really heavy-handed drummer, you might want to go for a 40 watt amplifier, but 20 watts for most blues or trio setups should be enough, but sometimes it isn't. And based on the cabinet size, it might not have the same sort of big projection in a room as other alternatives. But I got to tell you, the tones out of this thing sounded great, and I hope they record as great as what I was hearing in the room, because I really liked it. Let us know what you think of this. Overall, it's a lot of fun, and a massive thanks again to Sky Music for the loan of it, and I will catch you on the next one. See ya.